Thank you as always. I really appreciate your help this time too. May, with her frivolous smile, seemed to have no sense of guilt about making us pay. As usual, she just tagged along on our trip, treating Luke like a wallet, and I sighed for what felt like the umpteenth time. Right, this time May's parents are coming too. Faced with this sudden change of plans, I was taken aback. Of course, she has no intention of paying for her parents' share either. Luke, now in front of May, pretends to be generous and wouldn't dare ask her to pay. Sure enough, once we're back home, he'll be telling me to pay half. Despite my surprise, I secretly relished the situation. Watching Luke getting carried away, I sneered through my nose. Yeah, it's okay. This will be the last time. The last time? With a broad smile, I played along with his comment. They both looked surprised for a moment but soon burst into laughter, saying, "Oh, you're kidding again." Thinking it was just a joke, and resumed their merry conversation without a second thought. Seeing the two of them so carried away, I didn't even respond. I caressed a certain tool hidden in my bag, eagerly awaiting the moment of my revenge. My name is Mia. I'm 63 years old this year. We're a couple who love to travel. Ever since the old days, we managed to arrange work and enjoy domestic trips several times a year. Even after having children and retiring, that didn't change, and we thought we'd continue to enjoy our hobby. But that changed when our eldest son's wife, May, came into our lives. Since Hugo got married, May started visiting our house frequently. Hugo was busy with work, but he felt relieved thinking, if May's visiting home, it's okay, and I didn't say anything. We, as a couple, were also delighted that someone of May's age, like a daughter to us, would come to visit. However, I started feeling uncomfortable with the way Luke, my husband, treated May. Thanks for always treating us to dinner. It's fine. There's a sense of purpose in cooking when you comes over. Yeah, exactly. Cooking is about the only hobby Mia has. She's genuinely happy when you visit. Luke, while talking to May, often began to make comments that belittled me. Comparing May and me, who have a mother-daughter age gap, he would praise her, saying, "May, you have such beautiful skin." Or, you should take a cue from her beauty consciousness, constantly putting her on a pedestal and putting me down. Indeed, whenever May came over, she always dressed neatly and had her hair done beautifully. But being compared to someone so much younger was troubling for both May and me. With alcohol involved, Luke only made pleasant remarks. Can you stop? You're making her uncomfortable, aren't you? What's wrong? What's wrong with saying the truth? Are you jealous of a beautiful young lady? There's no way I would be, what are you talking about? Then don't complain. Sorry, May. Unlike you, my wife gets easily irritable because of her age. Luke said this with a laugh, unrepentant as I sighed. Since we didn't have a daughter, when someone as lovely as May came into our son's life as his wife, Luke was overjoyed. But lately, Luke's behavior seemed to be going too far. Not only did he demean me, but he also paid excessive attention to May, clearly smitten. I thought it was some kind of joke, but I haven't forgotten the words Luke carelessly let slip. You have been so kind, it's really been a big help. Right? I bet I'm a better man than Hugo, huh? What are you saying? Hugo has always been weak. I could protect you, May, you know. Luke talked as if he was a better man than Hugo, even to his son's wife, May. I even felt disgusted with Luke for saying such things to May. By the way, I heard from Hugo that you two travel a lot, right? Yes, it's been a hobby of ours since the old days. That's nice. Hugo is so busy with work that he hardly has time for trips anymore. While frowning slightly, May kept a constant smile as she turned her gaze towards Luke. I could easily guess what Luke would say next, and the look on May's face, as if she anticipated it, gave me chills. Really? Then why don't we go on the next trip together? Really? Are you sure? I feel a bit bad about it. Luke brightened up and smirked at May as he said this. It was clear he had no intention of considering my opinion from the start. And May, for her part, did not show any signs of hesitation even as she claimed to feel bad. She glanced at me while holding her cheeks with both hands. But I don't really have any money to spend freely. Don't worry, we invited you, so we'll cover it. Right? Ah, yeah, sure. Luke looked at me for agreement and I was bewildered by it as May took his hand with a triumphant smile, expressing her thanks joyfully. It might be my imagination, but May definitely narrowed her eyes at me and grinned smugly. We're planning to go at the beginning of next month, so get ready. Okay. I understand, thank you. Eventually, the two of them got excited, completely ignoring me, and all I could do was watch them with a cold eye. So? What are we going to do? We don't have a hotel reservation for May. We'll just have to do it now, right? Take care of it, please. Why should I be burdened with this even though you were the one who happily invited her? Why are you so cold when May says she's coming? After May left, I mentioned that we only had reservations for the two of us, and Luke responded in a baffled tone. Despite his grand claims to be kind to May, Luke didn't bother to make the hotel reservations or even the theater tickets he had planned. Moreover, he even hesitated to cover those expenses, despite bragging so much before. And yet, he made an unsettling joke, May can even sleep in my room if she wants, leaving me with nothing but frustration. This discomfort naturally continued during the trip. Throughout the trip, Luke was entirely focused on keeping May happy. If May said she wasn't interested in the theater, he wasted the tickets we had prepared and forced us to change our plans. Without reproaching May, Luke flirted with her while smitten, which was quite disheartening to witness. Hey, May. I hate to say this since you've come all this way, but it's troubling for us if you disrupt our travel plans. Oh. Right. I'm sorry. I got carried away because Luke is so kind. It's okay. I'm happier when you rely on me. No matter what I said, May would make eye contact with Luke, and Luke would strangely blame me instead. It was clear that May knew Luke was on her side and often made statements as if she was manipulating him. And no matter what I said, Luke would retort, "What's wrong with doting on our daughter? I'm sorry, I always seem to be having fun. I'm really just in the way, aren't I?" Not at all. I have a lot of fun when you're here, May. In fact, my wife is more of a nuisance with all her complaints. Are you serious? Once May got a taste for it, she would come to our house as if timed to our travels and naturally join us, as if it were expected. Perhaps Luke had already invited May to join the trip. And I wasn't even informed about such arrangements. Yet, the additional travel expenses caused by May were mostly left to me to handle. During the trip, May always left the payment to Luke, not even bothering to open her purse. In fact, she didn't even bring a purse. This is cute. I want it as a souvenir. Sure, I'll pay for it. Let's go buy it. Really? Thank you so much. May's extra expenses kept increasing because Luke wanted to impress her, stepping forward every time. Luke always claims he's just responding to May's requests as his excuse to be even more reluctant about giving me money afterward. What was supposed to be an enjoyable trip ended up being ruined by unnecessary expenses, and my frustration grew more and more. If these kinds of trips continued, my irritation would only accumulate. Since talking to them directly resolved nothing, I couldn't help but bring up May's behavior directly to Hugo. However, the response I got from Hugo was worse than I expected. Hey, Hugo, May has been tagging along on all our trips for a while now. Can you do something about it? Well, I heard from May that he's the one who's been happily inviting her along. It's those two making decisions on their own that's the problem. She doesn't pay anything either. Wait a second, that doesn't sound right. I heard that May is actually contributing her own money. It seems Hugo has been misled by May to believe a narrative far from the truth. Luke has been forcefully inviting her on trips, and according to what Hugo believes, she's been paying her own way. Of course, I've never received a penny from May, and given Luke's character, it's unlikely he's taking any money from her either. Yet, Hugo seems to think I'm making up these stories just to spite May. It's not a joke. If you think I'm just making this up, then it's better if she doesn't come anymore. May is trying hard to get along with you guys. You don't need to speak to her like that. How can I get along with someone who fabricates lies and tries to frame people as villains? I explained the facts to Hugo, but I had no concrete proof that May wasn't paying for the trips. Hugo seemed to be struggling with whom to trust. Later, Hugo said he talked to May again, and she insisted, "I am paying my own way." Despite paying, she went to Hugo crying, claiming it was slanderous for me to say she hadn't paid, and that she felt disliked. Hugo, seemingly siding with May, sighed over the phone. Faced with Hugo's doubts, I was at my wit's end. May never takes out her purse when we go on trips. She says she doesn't have her own money because she's not working. But she's saying she's paying, you know. If that's the case, then she's tagging along on your earnings, right? If she really is paying, then calculate exactly how much she has contributed. In a situation with no allies, my tone harshened as I rebuked Hugo. I was at my limit with May's shameful attitude and Luke, who was continuously infatuated with her. To get evidence and win Hugo's trust, I decided to exact revenge on the two. And on the next trip, May came along as usual. In her small designer bag, which seemed to hold only a handkerchief and a phone, there was, of course, no sign of a purse. Sorry to always be a bother. Thanks for taking care of me again this time. With her usual nonchalant smile, she seemed utterly unbothered about making us pay. As usual, May got into the passenger seat of Luke's car and flashed him a charming smile. Luke returned her gesture with a sloppy, contented grin. Seeing the two of them like this, I sighed once again. Normally, I would have just endured it for the sake of peace. But not this time. Clearing my throat in the back seat, I glared at the two of them, who were blissfully unaware of the hell I was about to unleash. Luke, about today's trip plan, how about this place? I've always wanted to go there. Great idea. I'll take you wherever you want to go, May. Really? That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Despite not bringing a single dime, May was fully prepared with research on places she wanted to visit. Showing Luke on her phone and suggesting various spots, completely ignoring the pre-planned itinerary right in front of me. Just the usual antics, I thought, as I checked my preparations for revenge. Then Luke, as if remembering something, turned to me and dropped a bombshell. I forgot to tell you. This time her parents are coming too. What? When I told my parents about our trips, they said they were envious. So I thought, why not invite her parents as well? Of course, I'll pay for everything, so you don't have to worry about a thing. He said this to May with a grin, giving me a sidelong glare. Caught off guard by the sudden change in plans, I was taken aback. May clearly had no intention of paying for her parents' share, and Luke was not about to bring it up in front of her, pretending to be generous. Sure enough, once we're back home, Luke will demand that I pay half. Caught off guard by this conversation, I couldn't help but smirk, thinking it could work to my advantage. That works out nicely, I said with a laugh. When I said this, Luke grinned mischievously at me. Right, he cheered, restarting the car and even humming a tune. Perhaps he misunderstood and thought he could impress May's parents with my approval. Or maybe he thought my agreement meant I was willing to contribute financially. Watching a cheerful Luke, I snorted in amusement. Thanks so much, Mia. No worries. This is the last time anyway. Last time? I nodded with a broad smile. They both looked surprised for a moment but soon burst into laughter, saying, "Oh, you're kidding again." Dismissing my words as a joke. After all, you are our precious daughter, we'll surely go on trips together in the future, right? Of course. So let's keep this good relationship going, okay, Mia? The two were getting carried away, but I didn't respond, just kept smiling. Considering what's coming for them, I could tolerate everything for now. In the evening, we arrived at the hotel and met up with May's parents, all of us being escorted to our rooms. As usual, May and Luke claimed they'd rest in their separate rooms. Of course, they were in different rooms. But I knew exactly what they were up to when they said this. So, I'll just have a drink with May's parents. Sure, take your time. I arranged for them to be alone on purpose, and as they said, "Enjoy your time," May waved at me with a grin. Her behavior, seemingly more convenient without me, solidified my suspicions. Anticipating they would slip up, I approached May's parents. I have something I'd like you to see, if that's okay? They looked puzzled as I quietly started my phone and showed them a video. Wow. What a lovely room. Your room is nice too. Really? Then May, you can come over to this room. I started showing them the live footage from a camera I had set up in our room. May appeared in the room where Luke and I were staying, acting as if it were the most natural thing. Her parents, seeing the familiarity between the two, watched intently with puzzled expressions. Since I've been arranging hotels and trips for you, it wouldn't be too bad for just the two of us to go on a trip without Mia, right? That would be unfair to Mia, wouldn't it? But she's really mad at me for not contributing money, you know? Don't worry about it. I'll handle her. The flirty exchange between May and a pleased Luke was continuously displayed on the screen. The interaction between them, hardly resembling that of a father-in-law and daughter-in-law, grew increasingly intense. And they seemed to genuinely enjoy putting me down. Seeing their casual disregard for me, Autumn, her mother, looked pale as she turned to me. What's going on? What is my daughter doing? This footage is from a camera in my and my husband's room. It seems she's in there talking to him right now. The trip was supposedly May inviting us to express her gratitude. Oh, really? I was only informed today that you two were coming. It seems she decided on her own again, I remarked. I disclosed everything about the previous trips to them, sparing no details. Including the fact that May hadn't contributed financially, Luke's attitude, and their disregard for me. As I explained, they inadvertently confessed on camera, causing May's parents' facial expressions to fluctuate rapidly from red to pale as they watched beside me. Meanwhile, I silently recorded Luke's inappropriate remarks to May, words that no father should be uttering. Our daughter has done something unforgivable. I really don't know how to apologize enough. I understand. I plan to cut ties with these two after this. I responded, looking at their downcast faces and thinking it cruel to torment them further, so I decided it was time to leave for the room. I burst into their room, thinking it was about time to reveal the truth. Wow, Mia. What's all this about? What's the matter? Is there a problem with me returning to my own room? That's not what I'm saying. Don't just burst through the door like that, you scared me. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were nervous because you were up to no good. With that, I replayed the video in front of them again. Upon noticing May's parents standing behind me, the two became flustered, and I sighed at the absurdity. Wanted to travel just the two of you? Were we, including May's parents, just in the way? Well, that's... May, I heard from your parents. If you're inviting them on a trip to express your gratitude, shouldn't you at least pay your own way? No, that's not it. I didn't because Luke said he would take care of it. May desperately tried to defend herself, while Luke spewed misplaced insults, unaware that I had secretly prepared the camera. Unable to apologize even now, I felt my heart growing colder as I watched them. Is this true? Hugo? Just then, perfectly timed, Hugo appeared. He had been away on a business trip. May, surprised by the unexpected guest, turned pale. Of course, I had also called Hugo beforehand, knowing he would find the discrepancy in the travel expenses strange. May, were you lying? No. I just took advantage because Luke said it was okay not to pay. Oh really? Because of you, we're short on money, and you've been making me pay all this time. I played another video on my phone at full volume. It was a pitiful conversation of Luke begrudgingly discussing the payment for the trip. I pity her, so I'll pay for that part, and you wanted to go on the trip too, so you should pay, Luke rambled in the audio that filled the room. This man is making me pay because he's out of money. What? That's the worst. I was being nice to you because I thought you had money. As Luke's demeaning comments played from my phone, May's true nature emerged. Autumn, May's mother, who had been silently listening, fiercely rebuked her, eyes wide with anger. Who's the worst here? I'm ashamed as a parent. Autumn's face turned red as she sternly scolded May. The intensity left Hugo and me with no room to intervene. You're no daughter of ours anymore. I should never have believed you wanted to gift us this trip. I didn't mean for it to turn out like this. This is terrible. Autumn's voice echoed through the floor, and I found myself needing to calm her. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Luke quietly approached me and muttered an apology, saying, I'm sorry for trying to look good in front of my son's wife. However, his attitude seemed to suggest he expected forgiveness just because he apologized, and I finally lost my patience. I told you this was the last time when we came here. I don't need a husband who dotes on his son's wife. What? Why? I apologized, didn't I? Do you really think an apology is enough for what you've done? I'm utterly appalled. With that, I mentioned about divorce to him. Finally realizing the irreversibility of his actions, Luke fell to his knees, utterly defeated. After the disastrous trip, Hugo apologized, having learned the truth. May ended up having to repay the travel expenses she owed, thanks to a lecture from her parents. She started working part-time without Hugo's help. I heard that the luxury bags and accessories that Luke had lavished on were confiscated. Luke, for his part, went around saying that his divorce was caused by being fleeced by May, which led to yet another scene. I heard that Luke caused a scene by demanding May repay all the money he had splurged on her. Was Dad always like this? I only remember him getting along well with Mom. Really? Now that I think about it, he was just a sloppy guy who shared my interest in traveling, I reflected. Disillusioned by Luke's lack of paternal dignity, Hugo shared such grievances with me. However, for me, it just reinforced that divorcing was the right decision. Luke, having nearly bankrupted himself by overindulging May, and I successfully finalized our divorce. And now I have kicked him out and am enjoying living on my own. After enduring so much, I am finally planning trips to places I want to visit, without anyone to interfere this time.